Excel exams with a time limit are challenging enough, but add in questions that are designed to stump you and you have a real recipe for disaster.
One of my students pointed out that she enjoyed the opportunities in the course to discuss possible Excel exam traps, those tasks you can run into that can not only be challenging, but drain the time from your exam countdown clock.
So I thought in this video I would share with you 7 tasks that even my most gifted Excel students tend to struggle with on their Excel exams.
We're going to go over table features, chart elements, how to move large cell ranges, how to add name ranges to formulas, how to master the if functions, how to use embedded functions, and finally, how to import outside files without making mistakes.
Hi there, my name is Mike, and I'm an educator who's all about accessible education that helps you unlock new opportunities. And I thought I would help you with that in this video by sharing with you tricky Excel questions that you might have to face on any Excel exam that tend to trip up even my most gifted Excel students. Maybe it's because of the wording, or maybe it's because the task is just really challenging. So we're going to cover 7 of those in this video, and I'll show you how to solve those types of tasks.
So for our first Excel exam trap, we have one that asks us to shade every other row in the table. Now, this is one of those tasks that seems like it would take a long time. We have a lot of rows in this Excel worksheet, and how on earth would we shade all of them at once? So if you're thinking about a task like that, try to think, how can I complete this task within 30 seconds or 1 minute? The tasks are designed like that, especially for my students who are doing a 50-minute time limit Excel exam and have to complete 30 or 35 questions. So you only got about a minute or a minute and a half at most to complete each task. So if it seems like there's something like a task like this that would take you too long to do, you have to think about it differently. So there should be an easy way to complete this type of task, and luckily there is. So when it says, the task again is a little bit cryptic like a lot of these examples. It says use an Excel feature so that you can shade every other row in this table. And that's basically a table option called banded rows, and that's what they want you to use, but they can't come out and say, oh, I want you to use the table option called banded rows, because that would probably make it a little bit too simple. They really want you to know all the ins and outs of Excel on these exams. So when they say shade every other row, that just means banded rows. If it was shade every other column, it would be banded columns. And what you'd have to do is click inside the table, click the table design tab, and then click banded rows, and now you can see every other row in the table is shaded automatically. So for a second Excel trap, we have the task is asking us to swap the data, and it's not always clear. Swap is a little bit of a jargon word, a little bit of a slang word, and there's no swap feature in Excel or Excel charts, but there is a switch row and column feature, and that's what they want you to do without saying that. So to complete something like this, we would just click on the chart and then go up to the chart design tab and then go to the switch row and column. If we hover our mouse on that icon, it does say swap the data over the axis, and then data being charted on the x-axis will move to the y-axis and vice versa. So swap or other words like that, just be careful with them. I feel like we need a dictionary for some of these exams, but swap means switch row and column when it comes to a chart. But I hate that they use jargon like that. Sorry to say. And if you had this task, you would just click switch row and column once, and then we fixed our problem, which was it was measuring the program names and not the actual enrollment numbers. Okay, so this third one is really tricky because it throws a little bit of a curveball at you in the first part of the question. So it says move the cells C23 to D31 up by deleting cells C22 and D22. Now when people have to complete tasks really quickly, you see, okay, move cells. Okay, I gotta move these cells. I'm gonna move it. I'm gonna highlight that range, and I'm gonna move the cells. And then without like taking the time to think, well, what are they actually asking me? They're not asking me to move the cells. They're asking me to delete the cells. And the domino effect of deleting those 2 cells will be that the cells will move up. So if you moved it like that, you wouldn't get any marks for that. What you have to do for this type of question is just kind of relax, try to read it carefully. I know you've only got a minute for each one, but try to read the questions carefully, because I think a lot of people get stumped on this one because they see the first part and they say, oh, move the cells. Okay, I know how to move cells. And then they forget that just by simply deleting cells C22 and D22, we can move the cells automatically. So, so we'll click those 2 cells, C22 and D22. We'll right click and we'll choose the delete option. And one of those says would you like to shift the cells up? So we'll say yes, please, or okay. And that range moves in itself, but it's a little bit of a trick question because those, anything below cells C22 and D22, and not just this range, will get moved up. For the fourth type of Excel trap, we've got to multiply a cell by a named range. And the tricky part about this is people go looking for the name range when you really don't have to. So we've actually hidden the name range down here to show you the mistake people make, and that's usually kind of trying to look for it. So you can find a name range in the name box here in the Home tab. It's right there, but how do we add it to a formula? And there's a really easy way to do that. So what they want is to take the value in the first cell in quarter one, in the quarter one column, and then multiply it by this named range. So the name range basically is a name for this cell here, the quarter two projection, and it's got a name. And you don't have to click on it like you would a cell reference. I'll show you what you do instead. So you would click equal and then use this first cell as a cell reference. And then we're going to use the multiply button or the star. Just click Shift 8 on your keyboard, and that's how you would do that. And then we're going to just type in the name range. So don't start clicking around your screen for this name range. That's not what they want. They want you to quickly type in the name range and then just double click on it. I'll show you what I mean. So when you type in quarter, oh look, it already popped up. So quarter, start typing in quarter, just double click the quarter two increase name range, and then press enter. And then we've completed that. We can even drag it down to the rest of the cells because it'll keep coming to that name range. So this will be multiplied by the quarter two increase as well. And that's how you would use a name range in a formula, but don't go looking for the name range. Just type it in, double click on it, and then you're done. Okay, so the if function. So that one gets a lot of people. It stumps a lot of us. It's probably one of the trickier types of functions that you'll have to face on any Excel exam. And the way you would do that is, the first thing you do is try to evaluate if you're dealing with the if function. So are there two outcomes? So if we read the task, it says use a function that will display popular if the value in the total column is greater than 12,000. But if it doesn't meet that condition, then we're going to leave it blank. So there's two outcomes. There's either popular or nothing. And you can tell what you need is the logical test, the true value, and the false value. Those three things: logical test, true value, false value. And if you're looking for the first thing, the logical test, it comes right after the if in the sentence. It says if the value in the total column is greater than 12,000. So great, we already have our logical test right there. So to write our logical test in our first cell, so in this popular column, we'll start typing, or cell I9, we'll start typing the if function. So if, open parentheses, and we have our logical test. Like I said, it's this cell, and this cell we're asking, is it greater than? So we'll do the greater than symbol, and then we'll just type in 12,000. So that's our logical test there. And then we'll put comma to separate the logical test from the true value. So if that is true, we get the value of popular. So in quotation marks, popular. Doesn't matter if I capitalize this. You're not going to lose marks as long as it's spelled correctly. So popular, and then we'll separate the true value with a comma from the false value. So now we have to put in the false value. So sometimes this is the opposite of what the true value was. So if the true value was pass, the false value might be fail. If the true value was yes, the false value might be no. But in some cases, it makes more sense to just leave the cell blank. So to do that, you would put open quotation mark, close quotation mark, back to back, no space, and then close the parentheses once we've completed that false statement, and press enter. And then you can see that the formula is in each of these cells. Because it's a table, it kind of copied it down automatically. And you can see the values that are over 12,000 are deemed popular, and the ones that aren't didn't get flagged with the word popular. So that's how you use the if function. Look for whatever comes after the word if. That's your logical test. And then there's two outcomes. The first one before the if is usually the true one. The one after is the false one. So look for that on your exam. Now for this one, sometimes they'll throw another curveball at you by embedding two functions at once. So it's not like you couldn't understand what all of the formulas and functions are. I've got a video on that if you want to see all of them on your Excel exam. But if you want to add two together, that's where the trick is. So for this one, we're going to modify an already existing formula and by adding one on top of it, which can be really tricky. So in this first cell, we notice that there's a formula. It's the left one, so it takes the first three letters of whatever is in the city column. But now it wants to automatically capitalize the letters in that column. So the trick with this one is that we don't want to delete the already existing formula, we want to modify it. So we'll type in upper around it, and then we'll add both the formulas together to make sure that the city code is still the same, but now it's just capitalized using capital letters in it. So equal upper is the formula we would use to uppercase letters in a range. So we'll just add equal upper and then put a parentheses in front, or sort of in between the upper and left formulas. And then we also have to add another closing parentheses to kind of wrap that last one up. And then press enter. And now you can see the column has all the letters capitalized, and that's exactly what we want. So we don't want to delete. I think that's the tricky part about this. We don't want to delete and start a new formula. We just want to add on to an already existing formula if you get a task like this one. Now these are my least favorite of all the Excel tasks that you could be asked, whether it's a core exam or an Excel expert exam. Whenever it comes to importing values from a different worksheet or a text file, I don't love that one because it takes some computers take a lot of time to generate the link to that one. So let's try this one. We're going to import the CSV file more cars into this Excel worksheet in cell A4. So I'll show you something to be careful with this one. Be really careful. It's one of our load to examples. I'll show you what I mean. So to load something from a CSV file or a text file, we have to go to the data tab and then choose the from text or CSV option. So there's that icon there. And now we've got the file that we want. So on your exam, when you go to the document folder, the files that you want should be there. And we're looking for the more cars, the Excel one, the CSV file. And then you'll see a little dialog box like this pop up. Now you have to be careful here. It'll say there's two things to look out for. So are the headings in your table that you're asked to import? And most of the time it's going to be yes. So we don't actually have to do anything there. We just have to guarantee that the table already has headers. So in this example, yeah, it does. We're good there. And then most people will click load on this one. But what happens when you click load, and this is the trap here, it loads to a different worksheet. And the task really wanted us to load it in cell A4 in the current worksheet. So clicking load's not going to work for us. What we have to do is click load to instead, and then change some of the options. So instead of clicking or choosing new worksheet, we want to click existing worksheet and just make sure equal A4 with dollar signs around both the A and the 4 are selected. And that'll insert the table into cell A4 with our current worksheet. But if you just click load, it'll create a new worksheet and you won't get marks for tasks like that. So you have to be careful. Don't load to, and then change the settings to existing worksheet and wherever they want you to put it on the existing worksheet. So when we click OK, our table pops up. It didn't go onto a new worksheet. It went onto our existing worksheet, and we avoided that Excel trap. So if you've got an Excel exam coming up, I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you need a little bit more practice, I've got other videos that'll pop up on the screen here. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.